Hello, welcome to another Q&A for the 2024 San Francisco Independent Short Film Festival. We are very fortunate to have some of the filmmakers here. Hi, filmmakers.
Hi.
For our closing night program. Thanks for coming in, guys. Let's just introduce yourself real quick. Maybe your name, your role of the film that you're involved with. Ty, you're first on my screen. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Hi, my name is Tal Amiran. I'm the director of the short documentary Weary. I'm based in London, UK. I'm calling in from London.
All right. Thanks for being here.
Pleasure.
And how about you, Gabrielle? You're calling in from far away.
I'm Gabrielle Carden, and I'm actually calling in from Sicily, and my film is Through Thin Ice, and I'm the co-director, co-producer, and subject of the film.
And we're glad you're here with us after watching that film, that story. Laura, hi, you're next, please.
Hi, I'm calling from Providence, Rhode Island. My film is Lock It Up, and I'm the writer, director, editor on the film.
Right on. Oh, triple threat. Good to have you here. And Ryan, last but not least, hi.
Hi, I'm Ryan Avery, producer of Handsy, and I'm here in San Francisco and directed and edited that film.
And wonderful. We'll keep on you right now. Quirky little film. What? Very creative, clever, unforgettable. What was the inspiration? How did you come up with that?
Thank you. Yeah, so I kind of do outsider art. I'm not actually traditionally from the film world. You can see I'm more of a music video person. But I like doing films with kind of creative limitations. So lots of them involve like friends in my living room doing weird, quirky things for different kind of oddball film festivals. This was actually created for a sex positive film festival called Hump. And then a lot of people said, hey, this actually can play well at more mainstream film festivals. So I spit it around and so glad to be a part of the SF Shorts Festival with this.
We are too. And it's funny that you mentioned you're not usually a filmmaker, but I just remembered like it moved me emotionally, even though all we see are hands.
Sure.
Uh,
Well, certainly, like I love telling stories in different ways because I've tried my hand at more narrative filmmaking. I just can't get into that. There's people who do really good filmmaking. I'm thinking of Laura right now with being very integral into the industry. It's just so difficult and so challenging to get all the pieces lined up. So I just say, let's not do dialogue. Let's only do either one shots or things we can do simply inside of my house. And so, yeah, hands came up amongst a conversation with friends, and we're like, well, what if we just did a film purely with
did
hands? Because
did you
everyone,
say a confrontation with friends?
no, sorry, I might have a kind of a discussion with friends.
Oh, collaboration.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
collaboration with friends, and we were thinking of what to do, and none of them really had any acting experience, but the idea of like, well, what if like we did hands? Like that's a really safe and easy way to kind of get on film where
But
people don't
but
have
you
to
you
feel like
might
they're
you might
actors.
say, I mean, you were successful, but you might say, because filmmaking is hard, as Laura will tell us in a little bit. But just hands to make an engaging film. I mean, and keep us watching. Well done.
Yes. Well, thank you. And it was actually quite fortuitous because one of the lead hands, after talking with her, she says, "Oh, actually, I've done a bunch of hand modeling before," and that was something I had no idea. And obviously, it comes across on film with very intentional how she did it, and she led the task so well in how we do movement. And so behind the scenes was very funny making that whole test rig because, as you notice, there's lots of hands and even a foot and just getting everybody on screen at once. It was quite a hilarious setup with everyone
I,
kind
I
of
can I
lying
can
down, leaning
yeah,
over.
I can almost kind of visualize the behind the scenes. It would have been great to show the making of. I don't know if you got footage of that.
If we had another person to do behind the scenes, we would have, but we were all on hands on deck, as it were.
Yeah. And Laura, Ryan just complimented your achievement, and indeed,
Thank
well
you.
done. I'm a filmmaker, so I know you had a lot of moving parts, and you captured a set very well. Have you made more films?
Thanks.
Is this your first film? Because you know it so well.
Well, I've made quite a few short films and three feature low budget indie narrative features. And yeah, I guess I just like to make things as complicated as possible for myself. And I wish I could not do that, but that seems to be my yeah,
Yeah, filmmaking's already
my
hard as it is,
inclination.
but to make a film about a film, you're kind of multiplying it, right?
Yeah, it was a
Difficulty?
big cast. Luckily we were in one location most of the time, so that was helpful. But huge cast, like 25 speaking roles or something. And then, the crew is actually I teach screenwriting and filmmaking at Brown.
Oh.
And so this was kind of, I said, what can I do like with students? A lot of my students, especially through the pandemic and stuff, they didn't have any production experience. And so I thought maybe, try to think of a project that I would like to do that they could also work on, and have that kind of, intensely in-person collaborative experience.
Yeah.
So I rounded up, let's see, like 9 professionals and 16 students were the crew. And then this big cast, and it got, a budget from Brown, which was, very shoestring for what we did. And most of the crew were working for nothing or almost nothing, basically, expenses barely. We had a 2-week shoot.
But I mean, your production value is super high. Well done. Looks great. Looks really slick
Thanks.
in a positive way. You had the trailers, I think. You had the light. You had a set, a real set. And
Yeah,
so,
well, sort of. Yeah. I mean,
right. So
we
did
had a building. I
did
mean,
you
we had
use
a
the set for the stuff you were using for your film for the props and the
the
art?
gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, I mean, it was kind of, everything we had was there. The room where we shot most of it, or the building where we shot most of it, is the applied math department at Brown. And we asked if we could use, their space, and they said no. And I was like, well, really? No? And they said no. And then I kind of kept just bugging them and sort of trying to guilt trip them. Yeah, I didn't know anything for them, but just kind of like trying to, say like, well, it's summer, really, just 6 days, 6 days taking over their whole like building. And they were very, very nice and generously let us invade their space for 6 days.
You
Um,
kind of just described producing in a nutshell. Persistence and don't take no for an answer.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there's a lot of that
And
cajoling,
then,
begging.
yeah, and then Gabrielle, a documentary, an eclectic group of films here. Documentary, so animation was used for recreation, no?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Well done. Yeah, good. It works.
Yes. I mean, it was a decision how to, I mean, telling the story, if it was just from the people involved and where we were interviewed and clearly had survived and it was safe, somehow it was important to get people in the moment of the story. And so animation seemed the best way to do it.
Yeah. Well, then your hero, right? The guy that saved you, that you interview,
Yes.
his retelling of it is just with the animation overlay. It's just it's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I learned a lot about him that I had no idea until we started filming. I had no idea he had this Maori background. That was a complete surprise that just appeared when we interviewed him.
So, was this film your idea?
Yes. So this is my first film. I'm a scientist. And I had this crazy event happen. And so many people had very strong feelings about what I had done. And somehow I felt like I needed to work through it. And it's also just the Great Salt Lake is a really magical place and very photogenic. And it just seemed like it needed to be a film. So,
Yeah.
but I have no experience making a film. So this is my first time.
Well, you did it really well. It's really moving. I remember crying. You made me cry. Yeah. And I was also angry at you when as an animal lover, it's like to put the dog at risk, but I get it. It was really moving. You had me hooked, right? And it's like,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you made it. And then Ty Weary, right? Is that how you pronounce the name of the artist?
So yeah, the film is Weary. Yeah, the title is Weary.
Also moving. I remember. Oh, and hello, there's your cat in the background. Who's that?
Oh, her name is Boba. My daughter named her Boba. I didn't realize she'd go into the
Well,
frame.
we're glad she's here. Your film also made me cry. Very moving.
Thank you. Thank you,
How
Jamie.
did you start this project? How did you approach Weary and all that stuff?
So just to say quickly that I watched all of your films, Laura, Ryan, and Gabriella, and I really enjoyed it. And I love how eclectic and varied the program is. So it's, it's fun hearing people talking, and I have watched the film. So just, as a side note, I came across Johnson's Weary's drawing online on Instagram. And I think Ryan mentioned outside the art, and Johnson is an outside the art. So he's, traditionally, I mean, for people who don't know, these are artists that are marginalized. These are not people who are trained or have got any kind of formal art training. Some people maybe tend to have some maybe learning difficulties or some traumas or some other issues. And Johnson, drawing for him is his outlet because he fled the Liberian civil war. So I came across there are galleries and museums that show that sort of work, this sort of art. And I came across Johnson's drawing online. One of these galleries posted a portrait of him, and it totally stopped me in my tracks, and I absolutely loved it. So I somehow found his contact details online. I reached out to him, and we literally spent 2 years on the phone. It was COVID, and I wasn't actually able to meet him in person for 2 years. So throughout 2020 and 2021, we were on WhatsApp talking, sometimes doing FaceTime. And eventually, when lockdown was lifted and the pandemic was over, I just went to Rotterdam. From London is just a train journey from London to the Netherlands, and we met, and we were like long lost friends because we've known each other. We spoke on the phone for 2 years,
Wow.
but we never really met in person.
Yeah.
So when we met,
Do you think maybe that was advantageous that it started off that way? Get to know each other before you begin filming?
I think so, yeah, absolutely. I think, when it comes to nonfiction, I guess maybe slightly different to fiction filmmaking, where we're working with real characters, with real people. So it's their stories and they open up to us. So building rapport and, and creating some sort of bond is important. So these 2 years, I think it's really, yeah, totally agree.
So that's usually one of the challenges and one of the questions, how you get the trust of your subject and have them open up. That was not needed. I mean, you were doing it for 2 years during the pandemic.
That's right. And we got to know each other. Johnson, he's got a very difficult life, and I was very respectful because he's homeless and he's undocumented. He set boundaries, very clear boundaries as to what I'm allowed to film with him. He didn't want me to film him, sleeping rough under a bridge or things like that. So, yes, we knew each other very well, but also there was some guidelines, some red lines that I was very respectful, respected Johnson's wish not to be filmed. And, like any documentary filmmaker, you make a film with somebody for a year and you become really close. So we text each other on WhatsApp often.
It took you about a year of actual filming?
It took me, yes, I think there were about 4 trips to Rotterdam and then edited the film. So I guess from start to finish, I work quite slowly, and I teach like Laura. I teach at university in London. So my films are self-produced. So I managed to go and shoot in between work. So all in all, it took about a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Impressive. All you guys are impressive. Laura, what were some of the challenges, since you're also a filmmaker teacher with students? Were the students the challenge? I'm just kind of joking, but what was some of the challenges for you?
Honestly, so when they first started, it was very much like they didn't know how to pick things up or how their bodies worked or something. But within 3 days, they were like an incredible crew. They were just like, they got so like professional basically so quickly and were just brilliant. They were fantastic, great crew.
Did you
The
have a
producers were
selection?
great too. I worked for like,
Yeah, did you have a selection?
Sorry?
What students did you choose? How did they get selected for being on your set?
it just happened naturally. I put, sort of the word out to students, and a lot of students, at Brown have like internships over the summer. They do, they have very planned, things, and sort of, so it's kind of, last minute, and when it all came together, and I had actually, that's not true. It was really like in the spring. So, but for them, it's like they plan like 6 months ahead what they're doing in the summer. So they are, a lot of them already had kind of like their summer set up. But a few students worked with me like all summer, basically as producers, and they were fantastic. And so they worked through pre-production with me, and then I also had like a more professional,
Right.
adult producer,
As mentors
Patrick
and
Clark.
whatnot. Yeah, as their mentors. Yeah.
So he actually wasn't around for pre-production, and the students were, so he came in sort of more like during the shoot and helped.
Got it.
And meanwhile, some of the student producers then became camera assistants, or
Right on.
um,
That's great. That's
yeah.
wonderful. I'd love to take your class. Wish I was a student in your film class. Gabrielle, what was it? What was the challenge? What was the challenge for you, Gabrielle? Was telling your story difficult?
I mean,
You know, Gabrielle, you're breaking up. I'm going to move to Ryan right now. Ryan, what was the challenge of your film, making your film?
I think the challenge for my film is always
it
got a little crosstalk
was.
here.
Gabrielle, you're causing a little difficulty. I'm going to mute you for a little bit. Okay, go ahead,
Yeah, so
Ryan.
one of the challenges for my film is always trying to find a concept that can be done in such a small scope. Because again, I'm very minimalist and try to do things in a weekend, kind of more of a traditional like music video style vibe. So this one is like we had so many ideas of what we could do with hands, and originally we wanted to do a large one take, and that was the original concept of the film. And we actually got the one take done. It was like a 3-minute thing, and we were very proud of it. But it didn't have the vibe that we wanted. So we had these inserts.
What vibe was that? Like, what was the vibe that you didn't capture? Like,
we just wanted the vibe that we wanted some humor in it, and we definitely wanted the humor to come across to kind of break up a lot of the, I don't want to say like awkwardness, but the sensuality of the film. And so we wanted like the middle part to be very humorful, and we tried to do it in one take as possible, but at some point we're like, no, we're going to take on these inserts. And so after we did the one take and got a good take, then we're just like, well, let's have some ideas. Let's just, spitball all these things that you see kind of in the middle of stuff. And so once we got that one take, we were pleased. We got the challenge through, but at some point we're just like, no, let's split it up.
Yeah. Yeah. And good choice of using humor. Humor is often the most powerful way, I think, of, getting across a message, let's say. Gabrielle, let me try once more. Sorry, but your Sicilian connection is a little weak. How tough was it to
It's not good.
No.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead. How tough? One more time. How tough was your retelling of your story?
Well, I think the initial part that was hard was I never made a film before. So I definitely need it. So I worked with a person, Arthur Venema, who we met through work and turned synergism in telling the story. For me, I think the hard thing was I really want people to see my perspective, and the person who rescued me, definitely has this big personality, really a big hero kind of person. And I didn't want his narrative to overtake the whole telling. And so there was a lot of conscious choices about how we edited the film. Yeah.
Well, it's really well edited, really well made, all that stuff. Good job. Laura, also for you,
Thank you.
Why a short film? Why not a feature film? I mean, I love short films. We love short films here, but
I really wanted to make a feature out of this project, actually, and I had a script that was more like a feature length. I had made a play, actually, a full-length play of it. And then I'd written sort of a pilot version, and then I thought, okay, I'll do a feature. But the thing is, at the time I was taking care of my mother, and I couldn't really, that was what the capacity that I had was really to do a short at that time. So that's what I did.
Right on. Well, it came out beautifully, and making a film is hard enough, let alone make it a feature-length film. Ty, did the yours is kind of I think it's like 30 minutes long or so, right? In that kind of
I think it's about 15.
15. So how was the editing process, and how long did you know the film how did you find out how long the film wanted to be, and making a documentary?
It's a great question. So I work as an editor as well, and I think my edit's always much longer than the film. At the end, I start sort of, once I've got an edit of about half an hour, 45 minutes, I start sort of condensing it. And I always use the example of Jenga, game. You take, pieces out, and I take shots out. I take literally the whole sequences. And if the story holds and I'm not destroying the story and the pace, then I just take things out. I'm just chiseling things out until it stands and it doesn't collapse and the story doesn't collapse. So it always ends up, and also strategically, I know festivals, there's no point making a very long film.
Good point. Let's repeat that for the filmmakers, short filmmakers watching. They often make too long of a film. Well said, and I love that analogy to the Jenga game. So true, so true. But very fascinating man, fascinating artist.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
It could have been longer, maybe.
Well, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's not your film so much, but just his life has probably a lot more to it.
Absolutely. I think the challenge with him was because so much of his life and the stories happen in the past. So how do I present something that happened 30, 40 years ago on screen now? So the solution of finding the drawings and juxtaposing the drawings with the dialogue was my way of, of telling things that happened in the past.
Love that. I loved you showing and displaying his artwork. It was, very wonderful to watch, to see. Ryan, and why not make a feature film out of this?
Oh, I think I've explained why. I do not have the resources. No, I really prefer working at a smaller scale, just because I've got a lot of other creative pursuits, and I want to have that really focused. Like if I've got a good one idea, I just want to have that one idea present itself. I don't want to have to then either wrap that in a much larger module or like bring a whole bunch of things. In my head, I would love to make something longer, but I think I will leave that to the people who are much better suited to that than myself.
And just don't you think like sometimes the material, the thing you come up with in your imagination is like it's like that's what that film wants to be, right? It kind of like tells you this is the length of it, right? I mean,
certainly,
it's kind of a
certainly. If there can be, if there can be anything like the longest I've ever done was 7 minutes, and even that felt long. And I definitely empathize a lot with what Ty was saying about taking a film that's 15 minutes and like, okay, well, let's condense this because yes, you do as a filmmaker, you have to almost throw away your babies and just like say, nope, this was great, but this just is not part of the story, or it's going to distract from the original purpose. So if I can get down to like 5 minutes and under, to me, that's a success because I've been able to be very compact and tell, a story in a really nice use of time.
Yeah, indeed. All right, we got time for one or two more. Gabrielle, I'm going to try you again. Last final words. What's a takeaway for you making this film? What was a highlight?
I think there were unexpected things that came out during the filming that I had no idea about, for instance, about Dom. That was completely novel for me. I guess the thing that's been really fun and sometimes a little difficult about the film is seeing people's reactions to the film. People have very diametrically opposite reactions as to what I did. And
real quick, sorry to interrupt. Real quick, what are the two kind of polar opposites that?
Oh, so people are like, "Oh, I would have done the same thing," or "You're absolutely nuts. What were you thinking?" And it's, people are very heated, and sometimes they just can't even believe that there would be another viewpoint. I mean, people are pretty strong about what they think.
Yeah.
And I guess.
One of the things I enjoyed is that your film did evoke both those kind of. I had mixed emotions going everywhere, and in the end, I was just happy. I mean, it's a really.
Yeah, but I like what Tal said about we started with a much longer film, and I feel like a good film in my brain is something that leaves you wanting more. So, you cut it to just to what you need to tell the story, and then you're sort of like, well, why did they do that? Or why is this there? And it's more about the conversation that the film promotes than maybe telling everything.
Yep, indeed. Agreed,
So,
100%.
yeah.
Laura, how about you? Any final last words, but what was maybe a highlight, a takeaway? Did you learn something about you or your students? Anything like that?
Oh, just,
Or
you know,
just
the
just have to
process
be
was
finished?
so fun. I mean, it was just a blast. The students were incredible. The crew was incredible. It was just a really great experience, and I wish I could kind of do that every day. But as you know, it's not easy to set up these projects.
Yeah,
So
you've made lots of films, and you just came through this one, and you're still saying, "I wish I could do it every day."
yeah, I really do. I love production. I love post-production too.
Right on. Well, then keep
Yeah.
making movies.
Try.
Ryan, you learn anything about yourself? Learn anything at all? Highlight?
Oh, every time you do a project, you learn a lot. And this one, really, the highlight is like a lot of projects that I've done, is just doing something unique and original with friends. Like if you can spend some time with friends, people that you really enjoy, and at the end of it, you've all done something new and different. That's a great day spent. Yeah, and just even being on this panel, I've just learned so much that the wide range of films and film styles and experiences. And thanks to you and everyone for having this opportunity for all films of all types and all
Right on.
experiences.
Right on. Back at you. Ty, last but not least, what'd you learn, or what's a highlight?
I mean, for me, making, this is my fourth short. I think making documentaries for me, just such a privilege. Spending time with these people, spending time with Johnson for me was just the highlight. He's a really complicated person, but spending time next to somebody who's, I really admire as an artist, for me is a privilege. Him allowing me into his world and spending time with him for so long. It was a fraught and really difficult film to make with Johnson, but for me, it just left me richer for it as a person on a very emotional level, as a person, just being close to Johnson
Yeah.
for that film.
Yeah, right on.
Um,
Well, I'll take
yeah.
your word. It's like all your films have made us richer for watching them. So thank you so much for making them. Congratulations, not only in getting in our film festival, but completing a film. We know how hard it is. So congratulations to you.
Thank you very
Everybody,
much.
thanks for watching. That was another Q&A for the 2024 San Francisco Short Films Festival, the closing night program. Check out more great films at sfindie.com. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jason.
everyone.
Thanks.